Hi everybody, my name is Callous and I will be your guest narrator today. To be honest, I am not sure how much of Jim's audience is familiar with me, so I'm just going to give a brief introduction here and then we'll get to the action. I've been playing competitive Pokemon since 2010. I've been commentating ADV on my own channel since 2012 or so, and I am the guy that this tournament, Jimvitational, I'm the guy who started the tournament that this is based off of. It used to be called Callous Invitational, which I ran for 7 years, and this is largely the predecessor, if you will, to that tournament. And I'm super duper proud and happy that in my old age and mostly retired years that this is continuing on. Jim is who I personally recommended and suggested to take up the mantle and be my successor, and I'm super duper appreciative that he accepted that and is running this tournament. The reason that I picked this match in particular is because ABR and Cowboy Dan are actually former champions of my tournament. Cowboy Dan won Callous Invitational 2 all those years ago, and then ABR was the champion of Callous Invitational 5. So a little bit of lore, a little bit of sentimental value. That's why I chose this. But real quick, guys, just a little shameless self-promotion. If you guys like the way that I commentate in this video, or if you're curious about the history of how we got here and how this tournament came to be, please check out my channel, which I hope they link in the description. But if not, it is youtube.com/Callous Narrates. youtube.com/Callous Narrates. I've got over 1,000 ADV videos over the years, including the previous Callous Invitational tournaments, and a lot of other good stuff. So if I can get a new subscriber or two, I've got a pretty small audience, to be honest with you, that would be great. And a huge thank you to Jim and the team for inviting me to be a guest narrator and to do this. Super excited for the opportunity. So let's have some fun. These players, like I said, I'm super familiar with them because of their background in my tournament. Both of them played in the majority of the editions of it, and I have a lot of respect for both of their game. And honestly, I think they're actually kind of similar players. Not exact, but I envision them both as offensive-leaning players that are versatile, that obviously can sprinkle in a little bit of TSS here and there, but I don't really envision either of these guys busting out like 4E Dusclops, Stall, or something to that effect. I think we're probably, and I haven't seen these games at all, I think we're probably going to have a more aggressive series. But let's get into the action. ABR, former CI champion, CI5, and Cowboy Dan on the alt, Donkey Space, round 1 of Jimvitational. Here is Game 1 of their best of 3. ABR is going to be on the bottom. Donkey Space, that's Cowboy Dan, is on the top. Suicune should threaten Tar out here, and unsurprisingly, he just goes for the attack. But ABR, seemingly with some TSS, has Blissey here. Seismic Toss is pretty generic. Maybe would have gone for Toxic or T-Wave if he has it there, so maybe that's a clue that it's not there. Nice double switch for Dan. Zard obviously with the advantage on Jirachi, though it is possible that Jirachi's faster. And it's interesting that ABR goes Gengar here. What if Cowboy Dan had just gone for Fire Blast? See how well he takes it. It's just Flamethrower actually, but based on that damage, I don't think Fire Blast would have killed either. Advantage Dan in that trade though. T-Tar comes in, gets Will-O-Wisp, but if you're switching Tar into Gar, I probably think it's a Pursuit Tar. And ABR agrees, which is why he's staying in and Giga Draining, and it is in fact Pursuit, but Giga Drain with the health gain took him out of range of that Pursuit. Nevertheless, the follow-up Pursuit should kill unless he crits Giga Drain, which he doesn't, and Pursuit plus the Sand should be enough here. In this case, it was a crit, so same either way. But as soon as I saw the Suicune and the Charizard, I figured, you know, those are things that want Gengar gone, so it's probably just a Pursuit Tar. Layer number 1 down of Spikes leaves us in a 6-5 situation, Dan up, and a failed Protect, which Dan takes advantage of and gets Charizard in. Here comes Arrow. Man, Charizard seems very threatening to ABR's team. If it does in fact have Focus Punch, which I would assume is the case with Substitute, but it doesn't have to be, then the sub plus fire coverage combo seems very threatening against ABR, who did not bring a bulky water to this battle. Double edge there. Going to be locked on that, so Metagross pretty safe. Meteor Mash coming down, 21%, not bad. Doesn't get the raise that he's hoping for, and ABR doubles to Rachi. That must have been anticipating that the Aerodactyl was going to come in, but we see that's not the case. But T-Tar comes in and fodders itself, and doing that allows the Zard to come in for free. Rachi doesn't get to CM, Rachi doesn't get to sub. The Zard just comes in for free on it, and this substitute is huge, because now if it does have Focus Punch, Aerodactyl's going to have to eat it. Double Edge, and it is just Flamethrower, fair enough. Resisted, crit would have killed, but doesn't come. 29%, going to force him out. And we know that he's locked on Double Edge, so Metagross is going to be the answer. That's the only living normal resist that he's shown so far. And Mash there, so as long as he doesn't miss or get crit, neither of which occur, he gets the kill. Dan regains his lead. And boom there, again, is going to not allow the Rachi to CM up or sub up. It's going to prevent any move at all from the Rachi, and the Zard follows up. Substitute again, hasn't shown Focus Punch, but now would be a fantastic time with the 4X weakness, and he does have it all along. Rock Slide, of course, pops the sub. That's also a 4X weakness, but a critical hit Focus Punch, no way Tar's surviving that. And Dan again regains the lead. He shows his last poke, so all cards on the table right now in what is a 4-3 game with Dan in the head. Ice Beam there, whatever, only matters if it freezes, and even then doesn't really matter with a natural Curamon. Wish floating now. ABR got to be careful to not let him pass that. He's going to try to pass it to Doll, and Ice Beam would have needed a crit or a freeze there. Not the best wish in the world. It's only a net of 15% or so, but the Claydol does come out on the plus side nevertheless. And with no Ghost there to block him, Rapid Spin is going to happen and does happen. Spikeless game temporarily. Skarm could have put another one down there. Instead, it's a failed Protect as Zard reappears. And Focus Punch thinking it might be Spikes. It also covers a potential switch. Kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Blissey obviously doesn't want to come into that. Protect happens that time. Here's Bliss. This time ABR outpredicts Dan. Flamethrower there, obviously not as good as Focus Punch would have been on Blissey. Still a mind game though, and the reason that ABR attacked there is because he didn't want to soft-boiled into a Focus Punch. Manages to IB the Doll. Earthquake IB again, Doll goes down, so we are briefly even again, but Charizard here on the Revenge Tour, and it's now in Blaze range. And Flamethrower in Blaze range is going to be good enough. And that's going to prompt the concession from ABR. He's got only the Skarm and the Jirachi left. Obviously, neither of those excited to come into a Charizard that presumably outspeeds them and then cooks them with the Blaze Range Flamethrower. So, not a premature concession there. Game 1 to the former Callous Invitational 2 champion, Cowboy Daniel. Another thing that I would like to note as we go into Game 2, very important to keep in context for the rest of this match, is that ABR is 5'5". Moving on to Game 2. ABR on the bottom again. Dan as Donkey Space on the top again. Here's Jinx. Ice Beam. And the Rock Slide crit surely didn't matter there. Down it goes. And the reason that ABR was okay accepting that is because he knew he had a Dugtrio follow-up and it was just a trade. So that's what we get. It's a 5-5. However, the Skarm follow-up will get a spike down, but ABR immediately goes to a spinner, and we'll see if a Rapid Spin happens here. And not at all. Wants the sand gone. Gonna go for Rain Dance. Makes me wonder what he's got in the back. Are we looking at like Suicune or Snorlax? There's a Lax. Clearly wants the weather to not be there, so would love to see how he takes advantage of the situation. Dan has loaded up seemingly pretty generic TSS here. I doubt there's a Magneton for ABR. It just doesn't make a lot of sense on a Jinx team. That would be a very unusual pairing. So I think he's at the mercy of the Skarmory here. These body slams unremarkable, even at +1, just 23% of whack. Roar does happen through para, and we see a new poke, Metagross. Swampert comes in, eats the mash. Obviously, it is not choice banded with that damage. Doesn't have lefties either, though, so maybe we're looking at a Lumberry. The rays certainly help, though, and now the mashes are pretty meaningful. And the Swampert, I mean, the crit there didn't matter, but the Swampert's going to drop. However, quick revenge kill, so this game moving pretty quickly. We've got ourselves a 4-4, one unrevealed for each player. Lax comes in, and of course, it's going to curse up. Skarm is going to be the check. We'll see if he goes straight for an attack or if he gets greedy and goes for curse number 2. Gonna just attack. And the roar again through the para happens. Gets the Dugtrio too. Probably a good outcome for Dan. Man, ABR seems relatively vulnerable to the Skarmory here. Aerodactyl staring down the lax now, but of course he just goes right back to Skarm. Without the curse boost, it's even less exciting at just 17% on that body slam. Starmie comes in, and Dan is not able to roar him away, so a rapid spin probably happens here, and there does not seem to be a ghost in the back as the last poke for Dan. Rapid spin does happen. Doesn't go for a cover though. Gets the lax in. T-Bolt is whatever, especially with no sand. But here comes Skarm yet again. Hey, slowly but surely, these hits are not great, but they are adding up. Skarm down to just 39%, about to be 45%, and it does finally full para. Starmie has shown Dance, Spin, Surf. I wonder if it actually just doesn't have Recover. It might just be a coverage move. And here we are with this matchup yet again as Skarm barely gets itself back into the green, but it's another full para. Not clear what he wanted to do there. It might have just been a roar turn. 35% Surf, Toxic through the imperfect accuracy, and the paralysis will land, but Starmie, again, a natural Curemon, so not the end of the world, and he's going to go for the kill, but Donkey going to switch it back. Donkey, of course, being his nickname. I don't think Dan is a donkey. He's a wonderful human being, and we've got Skarm and Lax. Starmie coming in, full para yet again. Surf should come just short of killing if he were to eat the hit here, but unsurprisingly, not comfortable doing so, and he goes out to Bliss. Still a hidden poke for both of them in the back, so I think that this is still very much anybody's game. I don't think the Skarm is going to be all that effective with the Starmie on the other side, so I think I give a small advantage right now to ABR, but the Aerodactyl is definitely potentially dangerous, especially if there's no real rock resist. Dugtrio does not count on ABR's end. But then again, ABR could just have like Tar or something in the back. Unlikely when he's going out of the way to change the weather, but you know what I mean. He could just have a Suicune or some kind of finisher. Suicune makes a lot of sense, actually, given the structure of the team, given that it's special spam, given the Dugtrio support to get rid of special walls. Celebi, Jirachi, Blissey, that he doesn't want to be there, given that he's changing the weather. That would probably be my prediction for the last poke for ABR. I would wager that it's probably a Suicune in the back, but time will tell. Toxic there, missing, but Skarm has nurtured itself a little bit back up. 2/3 is a hell of a lot better than where it once was, so Dan's doing a pretty good job of slowly but surely getting that guy back up to health. Or I guess it is a female Skarm, getting that gal back up to health. Surf and Spikes, respectively. Wow, it's been a ghost this whole time. That is a lot of discipline for Dan. He really set that up the whole time with tremendous patience, trying to get it in on a rapid spin turn, which didn't end up working. But T-Wave was the last move, as it turns out, for the Starmie. That was also very disciplined to not show that the whole time. And it ends up just being a trade after the Lax revenge kill. So the net result is right now 1 spike, but now they can't be removed. So, and there's our last poke. It is a Medicham. That is not what I would have thought that it is, and I highly doubt that's what Dan thought that it would have been. What a cool team from ABR, very creative. So yeah, I mean, a reversal user, I would have guessed, Heracross rather than Medicham, but that would be yet another poke if he's going to go down to Endure or Substitute and then trigger Salic and try to have a reversal set with a fighter in the back. I think that is super duper cool as well. So creative team from ABR, has always been a fan of these Jinx offenses. I've certainly discussed that privately with him over the years. Busting it out now when he is down a game and needs to win, and we've got ourselves a tight one here. Oh, I don't know if I like that pullback from Dan. That might be a throw. I think he was obligated to stay in and rock slide there. I think this could end very badly now. Oh no. This is going to be a disaster. He's going to sub down to a pinch berry here, and I think the Cham is just going to sweep. That is exactly what Dan did not want to happen, and there is the reversal, but even Brick Break would have been good enough. I think Dan tossed this one at the end. I think he had to stay in with the Aerodactyl against the Medicham there. Now, granted, that's not a guaranteed victory. Obviously, with Rock Slide, Medicham resists that, so it wouldn't have killed him. But it gives you the out of crits, of flinches, what have you. Whereas doing it this way, there was just no way out of it for Dan. The moment that he switched out and the Medicham got the bulk ups and the subs going, it was just done. There was just nothing that could have been done. So ABR may have won this game either way if we played it out. But I think Dan had a really reasonable chance if he had just stuck it out with the Aerodactyl. He would have given himself a significant chance to get out of this game. And I think Dan, I don't want to call it a throw, because a throw, I guess by definition, is you had the win, it was locked, this was yours, and you just tossed it out the window. So I guess in that regard, it isn't a throw per se. Dan wasn't guaranteed to win this game, but I think he had a very real chance to win this game and didn't necessarily do what he was supposed to do to take advantage of it. But that ABR win simply sends us to a game 3. So Dan with the opportunity to redeem himself here, or ABR can rattle off 2 in a row and put himself in the winner's bracket. And let me tell you, with the structure of this tournament, winning the first 2 is huge, because then you get a bye in the 3rd round, and automatically, just by starting off 2-0, you finish in the top half, the top 16 out of 32 of the tournament. So you should be in it to win it, obviously, but only one person can win, and if you're just looking to have a respectable finish and say, hey, I finished above average, I did well, whatever, like I said, just by starting out 2-0, you automatically will end up in the top half. So very important to win these early matches. Only one of them is going to do it. Here is game 3 to decide the set. ABR and Cowboy Dan as Donkey Space one final time. So we've got a meta and a Tar. Advantage Metagross with the mash that Tar wants no part of. And it is in fact the mash. The monster mash. Not a choice ban there, and Swampert going to stick it out and risk the boom or the HP grass in order to get a Toxic off, which does land, but not the world's greatest target in a natural Curemon in Celebi. Maybe a greedy Leech Seed there. Might have an issue if we're looking at a Pursuit or a Crunch Tar here, but he's got the answer. He's going to Baton Pass it away, and it is a physical Tar and apparently a lucky Tar with an immediate Earthquake crit, which very much mattered. That would not have killed Metagross otherwise, probably. And yeah, that is going to be advantage ABR pretty early on. Focus Punch from behind a sub, however, is going to be pretty big on the Skarm. Yep, 61%, but we know that there's a Drill Peck on the other side, so that's not going to stick around. And Magneton comes in, presumably 1 layer of spikes is all we're getting. Magneton is faster as expected. However, Dugtrio answer is there. Ooh, got the Endure set. He's going to be faster now after Salak and maybe scare him off with hidden power. It's either going to be ice or grass, of course. It won't be HP fire, since the point of this set is to do exactly what he just did and get Dugtrio out of there. So Thunder Wave, I guess, is going to be the answer. And it's going to work temporarily. Bliss does full para and then 20% more, but CM Dance beginning for ABR. And I don't know if Dan has a fantastic answer to that at the moment, but T-Tar is going to be the attempted response. Blissey being paralyzed is probably going to be scared here, and that is the case, and it is a physical Tar for him as well. Celebi comes in, healthy from before, and the Surf there, 13%, whole lot of who cares. Leech Seed and BP are the moves that we know, and Leech Seed there might have been a mistake. The HP Bug now can probably kill him. Yeah. Not going to survive. Maybe an extremely bulky Celebi and a jolly Dugtrio, maybe he could have survived. But vast majority of the time he was going down there. And I think Dan got a little greedy with the Leech Seed. And he's pretty behind now. He's going to try to make a dent with Heracross, but because it doesn't have lefties here, Protect and Sand stalling it out is a very real possibility. Now, granted, there's some pretty clear collateral damage on the way out. There goes T-Tar, oopsie daisy, but gonna protect here, and then Heracross is going to be 1 turn away from death. We'll see if ABR goes for 50-50 protect, or if he switches. And he is going to flip the coin, and he is going to be unsuccessful in that endeavor. So Pert will have to eat a Focus Punch. However, Heracross drops, and we've got our... Dan's had a P2 all along and didn't put it in to the Dugtrio. That's a bit of a head scratcher. Made a gamble, he says in the battle chat. Yeah, that's gamble's one word for it. Very, very unusual. P2 makes sense on the team. Even ABR even said earlier in the battle chat that he thought there would be a Duck. Duck, of course, being Porygon 2, which makes a lot of sense given the fact that all of Meta, Celebi, Heracross, Magneton, T-Tar are all vulnerable to Dugtrio. So yeah, P2 makes sense. The question is, why didn't he go for it before? But now I think we're just done here, because the Dugtrio waiting in the back can just Earthquake its way through both of what's remaining for Dan. Even with DD, he doesn't even survive there. And then obviously the Magneton is just going to die to the Spike. So this one, unfortunately, on a closeout game, at least unfortunately from the viewer perspective, was probably the least close of the three. This one pretty one-sided, I thought, for ABR. And that's going to be our outcome. It's going to be a 2-1 series victory for ABR, keeping in mind, for those of you who have not watched a tournament like this before, that it is a double elimination tournament, and therefore Dan is obviously not out of the tournament. He's simply going to be in the lower bracket, whereas ABR will continue on in the upper bracket. I thought the set was decent as a whole. Like I said, two former champs. ABR, the ghost of Christmas past, and Dan, the ghost of prehistoric Christmas. I mean, CI2 feels like a lifetime ago. It was over half a decade ago in perspective. But yeah, I thought they both played pretty well for the most part. Maybe a little bit of greed. Like I said, I harken back to Game 2 here with Dan, where I think the arrow pretty clearly should have stayed in against the Metacham, and maybe the outcome would have been different. And then back to Game 3, a little fast and loose with the Celebi here, staying into Leech Seed a couple times, got him into trouble, but I don't know if that ultimately made the difference. The decision to not trap the Dugtrio with the Porygon 2, I also think is questionable, and I wonder what might have happened if he had done that a different way. But yeah, I don't want to waste too much time at the end of this with shoulda, woulda, coulda. I hope that you guys enjoyed the series. Like I said, a 2-1 victory for ABR. And again, thank you to Jim and the crew for allowing me to guest narrate. One more time, shameless self-promotion, guys. If you want to check out my channel, I have so many videos like this. It is youtube.com/Callous Narrates. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of the tournament. Maybe I'll get invited back again, and I will see you guys there.